Hey, hello to all, and thank you for being here with us. We are here in a new show of Believe in Yourself, Believe in Your Business, and I have the amazing Marcy with me. I am very happy to have you here with us today, Marcy. I know that we are going to be talking something that I really love a lot, and it's about mindset and how we are giving our power to others and to other things and to other people. So it's going to have to be a lot of fun today. Thank you, everyone that is here with us. If you have any questions, any comment, you can be putting in the chat. We are really open. This is a conversation more than anything else. So thank you, Marcy, for connecting with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Alejandra. I love this topic. It's one that most people don't realize is affecting them in so many ways that they are actually in control of how good they're feeling. And if they're not feeling good, it's often because they're giving away their power.
So, Marcy, every time that I start, I always like to start with your story of who you were. Like before you started to believe in yourself, who was Marcy before you started to understand all the things that you know now, even when you were a kid, you were a teenager, where you started like to think like, okay, but I didn't believe this. So we start to have some sense of where are you coming from. That would be amazing to know.
Yeah, so we could spend the next 3 days talking about where I came from and how I got to this, but very briefly, I had rather an unusual upbringing, which is to say, my father was a genius and prolific writer and historian, and my mother was a very loving, very talented artist and musician, but she was schizophrenic and manic depressive. So I grew up with this weird mix of high expectations intellectually and a lot of love, but a lot of confusion about what was real and what wasn't. Because in those days, there wasn't all the kind of intervention into your life that there are now. There was no social services or anything. So, what your mom said, you just believed. And as a result, as I was growing up, I always tried to be the best at whatever I could be, highest grades, highest performance in jobs, without ever really feeling at the same time that I was worth anything unless I was constantly proving it. And if you're constantly trying to prove something, you're never going to be able to feel it inside. So once I got to be a professional adult working in a very high end corporate job, I ended up being a total workaholic. I never defined myself as a workaholic. I just thought, I love my job, I love my work, and there's this work to do, so I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. What I didn't realize is that I was always trying to compensate for the fact that I really didn't feel good about myself. I didn't trust that I was good enough in and of myself. I always had to do more, expect more, and beat myself up at the same time. So I was constantly having a very negative mindset at the same time I was excelling in so many ways. So the internal picture and the external picture didn't match at all. Now, I reached a point in my job when a number of my family members, actually 5 family members, all became critically ill at the same time. And I was the only person who could help them. I put some money aside, I could take some time off. I was offered a leave of absence and actually a promotion to VP, but I just didn't know how long it was going to take. So I walked away from an incredible job and was forced to really pay attention to what was going on in my mind, because you can't take care of other people and be all wrapped up in negative feelings at the same time. There's all kinds of things that go on, resentment, frustration, and I was completely exhausted. So after helping everybody, I ended up saying, I'm just going to take 2 or 3 weeks off, make sure everyone's settled, and then I'll look for another job, because by then it had been too long from my other job. I ended up, Alejandro, traveling for 10 months throughout the western part of the US. Pretty much everything I owned was in my car. I had my hiking boots there. I would stop anywhere I could and go on whatever the local favorite trails were, and I started writing a book and really examining myself deeply to see what was going on in my mind. And around that same time, I did some consulting work with a professor who is a neuroscientist. And through him, I started to understand for the first time in my life what was going on in my brain, what I could control and what I couldn't control, and how mindset affected everything. And it was a complete game changer for the rest of my life.
Quick question on that because really I have been having some very good conversation with other friends and I agree with them and it's exactly for the same with me. There is something that happens always in a mountain. Do you agree with that? That you were like because that is exactly what you are telling me. Like I was like in a trip and I was going through trails and going to mountains and started to connect with myself, connect with nature, and then you started to find yourself again. How was that? Do you remember some stories that you started to feel like, okay, now I understand this even when I am in the middle of nowhere? Are you there, Marcy? Okay, Marcy was telling me today that she's having some internet issues in the area that she is. So let her wait a little bit. She's going to be with us very soon. And if you have any questions with us, just oh, you're back.
Okay, sorry, I because the connection dropped. Having a words into nature.
Yes. How was it with you when you were, if you remember some moment, because I agree 100% when you start to connect with nature and start to connect with yourself, even in a mountain, like you were saying, there is something that starts to happen. And I want to say hello to Francisco Gonzalez also here with us. Hello.
Yes, hello to them. Yes, I completely agree, Alejandra. So there were a couple of factors going on. One was, yes, being able to be out in nature, traveling around the West and seeing landscape that I had never seen before and spending time in it was it's just healing. And it gives you space to think and work through things you've been carrying your whole life. Also, I had been working since I was 12, really. So I had never taken the time to stop being the responsible one, to stop being the person who was mother, wife, family caregiver, and to allow myself that time was hugely valuable. Now, not everybody has 10 months to spend just taking that time, but even a walk or a hike on a weekend, if you allow yourself to shut off the messages that are constantly chatting in your brain, can be very restorative and help you recover and heal that mindset.
Awesome. And tell us then what happened after you started to, okay, you were like 10 months on that trip and understanding it with yourself and understanding even with your coach and the person that you were going with, and you started to see different things. What happened with that?
Well, I ended up landing in California and I bought an avocado and rare fruit ranch with my son. Now, my son had been in the military and had come out of it with traumatic brain injury and post traumatic stress. And he was having a very difficult time being anywhere except in nature. So we bought the ranch together and set out to be organic farmers, as it were. During that time, I was still working on this book, and I started an initial program helping people reset their mindset Now, living with a veteran and having veterans come help us really accentuated for me that you have to learn how to live in the present moment. So you get bombarded by information.
We're losing Marcy again today. So if anybody that is connected with us, if you have any questions on the thing that we are talking, but we are talking a lot about mindset, how Marcy went from not understanding really who she were, like being maybe excellent and doing a lot of things outside in the outside world, but inside she was feeling miserable, that she didn't know exactly what to do or what was her wisdom. So if you have any questions here, just or things that you want to know, just let us know. I am reading all the chat here also.
Okay, we're back. So sorry about that. Okay, so being at this ranch, and we had a lot of veterans working with us who were stuck in the past, reliving these terrible experiences they've gone through. And that combined with the work I've been doing on understanding how our brain works, really for me to learn and see that you have to live in your present moment. Now, the way our minds work, we have this reptilian brain that is the emotional part of our mind. And then we have a rational part of our mind. The rational mind actually works much more slowly than the emotional mind. The emotional mind works from everything that you've ever gone through, and it looks for the most negative experiences you've ever had in order to make decisions very quickly. The rational part of your mind processes about 64 bits of information a minute, whereas the emotional mind processes a quadrillion bits of information in less time than it takes you to blink. This made me realize that when you're allowing all that stuff from the past or even events around you or things people are saying to flood into your mind and take over your emotional mind, that is what is giving away your power, because you're not able to live, or you're not choosing to live in that present moment. So I see a question. Do you want me to answer that?
Yes,
Yes.
that's I'm putting there because I love what Debbie is asking here. What was the tipping point that made you take a retreat and those 10 months?
Yes, so Debbie, great question. Actually, what happened, two things happened. One is that I'd been working so hard. I was willing to work every day, 10 to 12 hours and weekends. And I actually had a back issue. I ruptured a disc and I was forced to be out of work for 3 months. During that time, I analyzed and looked at how my life was and realized that I was taking all my meaning from work. And that is not where our meaning comes from. So once I got back to work, I started to really try to shift how I was living. And then it came to be that 5 family members were critically ill. Taking care of them on top of 10 years of working 50, 60, 70, even 90 hours in a week made me realize I was completely exhausted and that I really had to take some time off to take care of myself. So tipping points can come in any kind of flavor. Very often, though, they're one thing built on top of another. So I think of these as cascading events. So you might have an event that's the precipitating event. That was my back surgery. But then there were a series of cascading events where things just built up and built up. And I realized if I don't take time off to really heal myself, I'm not going to last for the many years I want to. And I'm also not ever going to be a happy person. So sorry, I dropped my earbud. Thanks for asking that. I hope that clarified it.
Yeah, it was really good. the and she's saying that is resonating with her.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Anjali. Good to see you here, my friend.
So let's continue now. Like right now, when you are working with Mindset 8, and you were already talking a little bit on that, okay, that's another one. Seems it is often a breakdown that leads to a breakthrough.
Absolutely.
It's exactly what we are talking about, Debbie. So, in regards of what you are doing now, and really, I see that you started to find that you were giving your power away in different ways. What are things that you can see that in the past helped, like you started to do that, and how you healed from that? Those issues, because sometimes you don't know that you are working 90 hours and that means that you are giving away your power, or maybe even working 20 hours per week and you can be giving away your power. That doesn't, it doesn't matter how many hours, but really how you are putting yourself there. And sometimes when you realize, you can be like, oh, now I am angry with myself because I am giving my power, and that is exactly what I don't want to do. So how was that process, or the thing that you know that can affect? Um, we lose Marcy again today. Technology is not helping us today. This is the first time I am having so many drops. Are you there? Oh, you are here,
Are we
back.
back? All right. So, Alejandra, to define what I mean by giving away your power, I'm not sure it's the same thing you mean. Peace of mind. Energy, power over your time, power over living in the present, in the past, or the future. It's letting things in your head. So it's squirrel.
Okay, and I am loving all the questions that you are doing, Debbie and Jali. If you have any other questions, or even how you define giving away your power, that would be great to be knowing if that connects with what Marcy is saying.
Yeah. So do
That
you
is
want me to?
an interesting day. This is the first time that I have been like this, like going up and down all the time. But
I
thank
know.
you for bringing you here.
Yeah, I'm in the mountains. So anyway, I was just trying to define for people what giving away your power means. Basically, it means anytime you are not living in the present and having peace of mind and really honoring both your purpose and your intentionality about how you're living. So when you are working all the time, you're not able to have peace of mind because you are exhausted. You might be waking up in the middle of the night angry or frustrated at your boss. For instance, this is one of the things that used to happen to me. I'd wake up at 3 a.m, even though I'd only gone to bed at midnight, and I'd be arguing with my boss over some point and coming up with just the perfect thing I should have said back to him. That is totally giving away my power, because not only was he keeping me from sleeping, but I was letting him recycle in my mind like in a little squirrel cage. And I bet if I asked people out there to say, how often have you replayed conversations in your head that were negative? Almost everyone would say, yes, I've done that before. That is a sign that you're giving away your power, because anytime you let someone else recycle in your head in a conversation and it's making you feel bad, you're not claiming your power over your peace of mind and your intentionality. I actually did start to realize this while I was still at my job. And it came to me because I had so many nights in a row when I woke up very distressed with the boss I had at the time, who had his strengths, but definitely should never have been in charge of anybody. I realized one night that, oh my gosh, it's as if I'm letting this guy into my bed with me, because he's disrupting my sleep. It's like I think I can talk to him right there. And so I came up with this visualization, which guided visualizations are hugely powerful for helping us shift our mindset. And I imagined that he was lying in bed with me with his clothes on. And I imagined standing up and getting a big broom and sweeping him out of my bed and having him thunk on the floor with a visualization. You need to be as detailed as possible. And then I was able to go back to sleep. I started to reclaim my power. I shared that visualization actually with a lot of my reports who all had the same challenge, and they also found it very useful. So you have to pay attention. And that is one of the difficult things with shifting your mindset, is that we don't even notice our mindset. We don't notice critical self-talk because we're so used to it, and because it's a habit of how we're perceiving the world. Someone hurts my feelings, I don't just process it, acknowledge it. I let it play over and over again. And then I'm upset with that person, sometimes for years. I was once married and my husband went a month without speaking to me, literally. And every day I would say, what's wrong? Why aren't you talking to me? What upset you? What can I do? How can I help you? Totally gave my power away to him because it was not my responsibility what he was going through. If I had done something, then I would have apologized it, and that would have been my part. His part was what he was going through and creating out of the situation. So owning your own power also means that you detach from what belongs to someone else so that you can work on what belongs to you, because that is all you have the power to change. Your own attitude, your own apologies, your own approach to being present and accepting and loving yourself just as you are right then.
And I love a lot that, Marcy, I believe there is a lot of power on what you are saying. Can you give us more examples also on the thing that you see that maybe, for example, when you are a business owner and you start to give away your power even to your customers or to other people around? Because that is something that we do like every day, sometimes subconsciously, and that is something that you need to be aware, and when you are aware you can start to work on that. So I would like to see other ways that you have seen it before, and then start to like find ways that you can, for example, this visualization that you said was amazing. Like I know a couple of things that you have used even with the people that you have been working with in the past, to know like, okay, this, for me it worked the visualization, but in other case it worked to get out of everything and start to understand what is it. How was that process to start to take back your power again and start to see like, okay, now I am here and I am not trying to live through those uh, disempowering things?
Yes, so that's a lot to unpack, but I'll start with just an example of, here's something that happens to a lot of entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, and small business owners too. And that is that because they've got this dream of how they're going to have a business and serve people, they also have this idea that there's a right way to do things. And when they start to hire on people or job out parts of the work, they have a difficult time letting go of the things that they're no longer doing themselves. They have this idea that there's just a right way to do something. And if the person they've hired or that they're maybe co-owning a business with doesn't do things exactly that same way, then they get bent out of shape and they do one of a few things. Either they get angry or frustrated, or they go back and redo that person's work, or maybe even fire that person. What they are not understanding is that the goal of perfectionism, even in a business, is impossible to attain. There is no such thing as the right way. For instance, if I were to ask everyone in the audience, what's the right way to hang your toilet paper? Some people would say over the top, some people would say from the bottom. I actually have just coached someone recently who, when I asked that question, she said, oh, it's from the bottom. And recently I was somewhere where I turned the toilet paper the right way, which is a huge amount of hubris to just go into someone else's house and fix their toilet paper. In business, there can be better ways to do things. there can be an SOP, standard operating procedure, for how you, for instance, file what your filing system might be. Those are things. However, to have every single thing in your business be done exactly the way you want is going to make you out of your mind. And you'll have a difficult time working with people. You'll end up working more hours because you're trying to fix everything to be exactly perfect, which it can't be. We have to just learn from everything that's going on, roll with the punches, and do better the next day. I mean, Edison once said, I haven't failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that don't work. And you keep on going. So when you recognize that you're getting uptight, that your body is starting to get tense, you're noticing that you're working more hours, those are all signs that you are shifting out of a healthy mindset and into a right way mentality and into giving away your power over the things you can't control. That's one example of many. Another really common example, especially with small business owners and entrepreneurs, is having something that person, that's not a right fit, or the person then takes everything inside and says, I'm no good at selling. This business isn't going to work. My mother, my partner, all my friends said, this is never going to work. You have to just detach from that mental whirlwind and say, no, what is the fact here and what is the story here? The story is that I believe I'm going to fail and that this indicated a fail.
Marcy, we lose you a couple of minutes with the last example that you started to say. Maybe you can repeat it. We have Anna asking for that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, hi, Anna. Yes, so you get on a sales call with a client, a potential client. Person says, no, I don't want this for whatever reason. It's too much money. It's not the right time or whatever. Instead of just saying, fact, this person isn't a right fit or isn't a right fit right now, you say, story. This is about me. I'm charging too much. I'm not worth what I'm charging. I'm never going to make it in this business. Yada, 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 all about your own feelings of you're not good enough. Doesn't mean that you could do a sales call in a different way that would work better. Yes, that's why we fail, we repeat, we try something different. But what we don't need to do is to go into that tailspin of it being about us not being good enough. That's when we're giving away our power. And the way to take it back is, first of all, to start separating out what's a fact. Is this real? How does it make me feel when I believe that this is real? If it's making me feel really crummy, then it's probably not a fact. It's a story. And a story is something you can shift. Now, the way we shift that kind of story, I don't know, Alejandro, if you want me to go into that, it's kind of a long process, but it's very possible. Or do you want to go back to Debbie's question?
I believe it's going to be answering a little bit of Debbie's question because it's about the scenario at work. But as you wish, we have a couple of minutes more just to.
Yeah, I'd like to answer a question. I'm not really sure what scenario, as you said. So I'd love to be able to answer your question. So Debbie, maybe you can give us a little more detail. And in the meantime, I will just quickly tell you that one of the ways to get through this is, first of all, there's what I call the red flag alarm. And that is your body telling your emotional mind and your rational mind that something is going on with you that's not healthy, that's not emotionally healthy. So you start to feel stress in your body. It's the first signal that you need to pay attention to and then stop. And what I always have people do is to do what I call rational breathing, where you put your hands on your stomach and you breathe in so deeply that while you're looking at your hands, you actually see your hands move and you see them flow out as you breathe in and go in closer as you release the breath. that grounds you in your rational mind so that you can start taking steps to unpack whatever it was that led you to get upset in the first place. Okay, Debbie, I'm going to jump to you. Is that okay, Alejandro, if I just jump to Debbie? So your partner's doing something differently. And I assume you mean like a work partner, and you get bent out of shape. What I recommend in this situation is clarifying which things are the SOP kinds of things. So, for instance, at the company I used to work for, you had to, we reviewed the on-screen text graphics on a video. There was a certain way to convey that information to someone else. That was an SOP. It was just a fact. Sometimes people could bend that a little bit, but if you didn't do it right, then it held up the whole process. In your work situation, there may be things where you and your partner can sit down and say, what are our SOPs? When is there leeway for us doing things a little bit differently? When does it have a big impact, and what is that impact if we do it off track? If you can come up with that together, then you know where the wiggle room is and where there isn't wiggle room. When there is wiggle room and you find yourself getting upset because your partner didn't do it the way that you think is still the best way, that's for you to take in and do self-examination around. I recommend writing out first your thoughts, because writing activates a certain part of your brain that enables you to work through and practice new feelings. You can literally build new synapses about how you're going to respond to something instead of reacting when you do that. Some of the time, what comes up when you're writing might be that you don't trust that person or you don't trust someone else. Yes, standards and expectations. But here's another piece of this, Debbie, that I think is really important. When you write down your own feeling of upset about it, I want you to write another sentence, which is, this is what happened. My partner did this. It upset me. And then you add, and that's the way I like it. That, and then you read it aloud to yourself. And what that enables you to do is to recognize that actually you're the one choosing how you're reacting to that situation. You have control over it. If it's not something you like, then you need to change not your partner, but how you're responding. And that means letting go of what you can't control and doing some work on yourself to feed your own feelings of trust within yourself and trust within your partner. I hope that helps.
Yes, I think so. It was really powerful, and I know that we can be talking a lot here. I am having a lot of fun. So, quick question, Marcy. If people want to connect with you, I know that you have. Okay, let me put here in the chat. This is a link that you have for connecting with you and starting to know a little bit more about how you can be giving away your power. This is the link for anybody that is here with us.
Yeah, so I worked up a 4-step simple exercises for you to do. Thank you, Alejandro, for working through those situations where you're feeling hurt or upset. You can use it's focused on hurt, but you can use it for any emotion to help you process it. Yes, Anna, exactly. Everybody's always focused on changing other people. You cannot control that. That is totally giving your power away when you think you're going to fix someone else or control it or micromanage it or anything. So this is about your own power, reclaiming your own power. Now, if you want to learn more about my programs, you can go to my website, which is selfmasterytransformation.com. And can you throw that in the chat too, Alejandro? Just, yes. But if you want to get on my mailing list and get started today with an exercise that will help you reclaim your power, that's why I created that giveaway. So do that. And if you want to find out more about me, it's selfmasterytransformation.com, and please connect with me on LinkedIn.
Okay, perfect. So if really thank you for today. For me, was really good. I know that we had some issue with the internet today, but really at the end, even people was really connected. Thank you, Debbie, Anna, and all the people that was here connecting and chatting. One quick question that I want, just because I always like to leave like with something that you are saying, like, okay, maybe you didn't understand anything that we talked today, but this is the thing that I want you to understand about giving away your power. And if you go with this, you are going to start to improve your life and or anything. So what is one thing that you can say, like, start with this even if you don't believe anything that we talked today, or you like it but you don't know how to implement it? What is that one thing that you can say?
Yeah, it's a good question. So one thing would be, if you are feeling bad, if you're feeling unhappy, you're feeling negative, you're feeling worried, you're feeling angry, if you're having any feelings that are contrary to your having peace of mind, that means you are giving your power away. You might be giving it to someone else, or you might simply be giving it away within your own mind. Either way, it is within your own mind. You have complete control over that. You just have to start shifting it. It's a process anybody can do.
Yeah, and that's something that we need to start. You need to be aware. That's the first thing. If you are aware of something like that, that you are giving away your power, then you can start to take action and start to decide. That is not something that happens in one day. It's something that you start to, okay, I am aware, and you start to see different ways that you are doing it. So thank you, Marcy. I believe it was very powerful today. I hope that everybody that was here or that is listening to this later are connecting with this. If you have any questions, these are the two pages, the one that I share, the giving away your power and self mastery transformation. Reach to me or reach to Marcy directly, and we can be helping you with the things that you are going through. Thank you, Marcy. It was amazing. Thank you, everyone that was here with us today. And we can connect very soon.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye to everyone.